Good morning and welcome to iHeartRadio Facebook Live from our iHeartRadio headquarters in New York City. I'm Jim Kerr. I host the morning show on iHeartMedia's Q104.3 in New York. It's New York's classic rock station. And we are here today to celebrate today's release of an incredible new album. Take a look right there. It's a brand new album released today, created for us and people all over the world by one of the greatest and most talented recording artists of any of our lifetimes. Will you please welcome Steve Perry.
Wow. I owe Jim money after that introduction, I think. Wow.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you are an extraordinary artist, but you have always been, at least in the dealings that I've had with you through the decades and knowing other people who know you, you've always had kind of a modest demeanor about yourself that can be considered in some cases uncharacteristic of some people in your position. Well, tell us about that. You just said, I'm not impressed with myself. How can you not be? We're all impressed with you.
I'm grateful for that. I am grateful that you're impressed, but I'm not impressed with me that much, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm just a singer from the central San Joaquin Valley who got lucky in the music business, and I still think of it that way. I really do, and I'm real fortunate to have had an opportunity to chase after a dream that I had when I was like 6, 7 years old. You know?
Well, when you were 6, 7 years old, you were listening to the music that your parents liked, and you entered into a lifelong love affair with that music. And I thought that was interesting because most of us reject our parents' music until later in life. Later in life, we then develop an appreciation for what our parents liked. But you kept that affection for that music going throughout your adolescence, into your young adulthood, and right to this present day.
Yeah, I think it was because my dad was a singer, and he used to sing big band music. And I loved swing music. I mean, it had a pocket. The first time I ever heard Count Basie Band, I lost my mind because the swing of it was so real and so alive. And from that point on, I got into R&B music, and when my parents did finally divorce at the age of 7, I got into 45s. And at that point, well, that music saved my life because I literally checked into the landscape of what I was listening on those 45s. And I mean, I'm talking about music that just was all about feeling and all about pocket and about lyrics and saying it in a certain way, no matter what you were saying. It was how you were saying it. Like I used to listen to the Drifters. You can almost taste the hot dogs, French fries they sell. You can almost taste the hot dogs and French fries they sell. It's not a great lyric, right? But how he says it was a new dimension for me. It was a new level of learning for me at that point, yeah.
And then as you were moving up through adolescence, you go into the 1960s. I remember recently we had a conversation about Sly and the Family Stone.
Yeah. Well, you know, I used to
play... Sing a Simple Song.
I know.
I think Sing a Simple Song was one that had a big impact on you.
I used to play drums in a club in my hometown of Hanford, California, and I would play drums and sing a simple song, and that song, the pocket was just amazing, the drum pocket that was laid by Greg Arrico, and so then I was, doing drumming and singing, so it was kind of a new thing for me to do both of those, but I was really loving it, and that music really took me to another place, another sort of big R&B place. And by the way, Sly and the Family Stone was one of the first R&B groups that ever took R&B to a massive stage. Really. I mean, he really did that.
And I guess it was maybe 8 weeks ago when you kind of reemerged after being away from us for being out of public view, generally speaking. They occasionally, there was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, and sometimes you would join some of your friends who were playing somewhere. But generally speaking, a very, very low profile for about a quarter of a century.
I'd say a low profile, yeah. I
Yeah.
think invisible is a better word.
Yes, well, except, and we'll get into that, how it was impossible to really be
Yeah.
invisible in a while. But you came back, you started visiting radio stations, you appeared on television,
Yeah.
a big profile in the New York Times, articles in other newspapers and magazines around the country. So you were away for a long time, but then when you were back, you were really back. So what's happened between then and now? How has this reemergence into the public eye affected you? How's it been?
Well, it's been an amazing ride. It really has been. I think everybody should know that when I left the group, I had to walk away with a sort of a heartfelt conviction to not look back. It was the only way I could leave that relationship. Like any relationship, if you're going to leave it, you kind of can't go back and leave and go back and leave. I had to walk away from it with a conviction, and that meant I had to turn my heart off a little bit because I was going to easily fall back into it, and I knew I needed to keep walking because I'd lost my passion for music, and that was really a frightening experience that I had discovered when I was really young with those 45s. I had lost that feeling, and that really scared the hell out of me. So I just knew I had to walk away and stay away. So I think turning my heart down to about half so I could keep walking was what had to happen. Well, you know, time goes on, and life had its way with me, and I learned so much by being gone and having relationships and losses like all of us do. My heart is back up, and now I'm feeling that, I guess, you know, people dig me, Jim. I mean, I don't know. You know, I know it sounds silly, but I really didn't pay attention to all that because I had to keep walking. But it's really been a great experience to have the love from people come back into my life.
Well,
I'm grateful for it.
You said that during that entire period when you were out of the public eye, you didn't sing.
No.
You even told me that you didn't sing in the
No.
bathroom. You
Not
didn't
in the
even
shower,
sing in the shower.
nowhere.
Do you know everybody sounds good when they sing in the shower?
I know.
I mean, I'm trying to imagine.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't do it. I just didn't have the, I don't know, it just seemed like it was going to be too reminiscent of something I'd let go of. And I didn't want to wake that up, see? I had to shut it off.
Yeah, but someone who loved you worked really hard to convince you that maybe you ought to move beyond that and share your considerable gifts again with the world and people who never forgot you during the period you were gone.
Yeah, well, her name was Kelly Nash, and I met Kelly Nash through Patty Jenkins, who all you know did the movie Monster, and she did the last Wonder Woman. She's doing the new Wonder Woman. Patty is a wonderful girl, and I was hanging out with Patty during one of these editing sessions for the movie, a TV show called Five for the Lifetime Network, and that's where my creative juices were sort of like going. I was loving that aspect of things, not singing, you know. So there's this segment in this particular TV show she's working on, and there's a hospital scene, and the camera's panning across all the people, explaining what this person's surviving with cancer, and this one's surviving, and this one's surviving, and it pans across this girl, and I said to Patty, I said, whoa, stop, who's that? She said, oh, that's Kelly Nash. I said, well, who's Kelly Nash? She said, well, she's a PhD psychologist who had breast cancer, and she's, you know, she's doing okay, but I said, well, do you have her email? I mean, do you have her email? And Patty looked at me like, well, she knows I don't.
He hadn't lost his passion for everything.
No. But she knows I don't do that, you know. So she says, really? I said, yeah. She says, well, why? I said, I don't know. Would you send her an email that maybe your friend Steve might want to take her to lunch or something? You know, maybe I need a new shrink. I don't know. So she says, I will, but there's something I should tell you first. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, she was in remission, but it came back and it's in her bones and her lungs, and she's fighting for her life. And oh man, at that moment I had the opportunity to just, no harm, no foul, just be quiet and don't send it, you know? My head said, don't do it. My heart said, bullshit. do it. And I listened to my heart, and I sent it. And I waited on pins and needles for 2 weeks. And she got back to me, and we talked one night for 6 hours on the phone. And then we went to dinner for 6 hours, and we were inseparable, you know. And she was really instrumental in getting me back into music. She really was, because she loved the fact that people love me, and I should pay attention to that.
Well, you, of course, were very conscious about your own decision to step back. But one of the things that was very unique in your particular situation, and very few recording artists have the impact that you've had, that created a situation where you were, in fact, never really gone. You maybe felt you were in some sort of self-imposed public exile, but on the radio, all over the world, every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, people turned on the radio and you were singing. You were never gone.
Do you know what it was like trying to walk away and turn on the radio and there's Who's Crying Now? Trying to walk away and there's Don't Stop Believing? Trying to walk away and there's Separate Ways, or Any Way You Want It, or Lights in the City, or Oh Sherry, or Foolish Heart. It was crazy for me because there was a side of me that was go, oh, that's great. Oh, I got to keep walking. I don't, you know, don't look at it. You know, it was like that. I just think that I just had to do it for myself. There's no explanation except I needed to do it for me, because at that time when we were doing that, I realized it's 30 years ago, a long time. We were all into some extra behaviors, dare I say.
No.
What are you guys laughing about? I don't understand.
No.
And so those behaviors can, as you have seen of late, especially, take people out. And so coupled with being burnt out, I just had to keep going, you know, had to walk away.
Well, the fire has been relit. Traces was released today. We asked... There are people who are going to be waiting this afternoon for the truck to pull up in front of their house with the vinyl. But there are other people who, the very second that the album was released digitally,
I pre-ordered it myself. I had to do it. You know.
And so
I woke up this morning. Whoop! It's ready. I went, yes.
So we asked some of your fans to send us questions that they would like me to ask you. Not all just questions, some are statements. This one says, "Thank you for Traces, it's wonderful."
Oh, thank you. Who is that? Come on.
There's no name on there. Not everyone has a name.
Okay,
Not
so
everyone has a name.
Thank you, whoever that was.
Hi, Steve. My question is, did you have to prep your voice at all after being gone so long? You still sound amazing after all these years. Thank you for coming back. We waited for you.
I feel guilty leaving everybody. I really do. I feel bad, but as I explained, I had to. It's such a sweet statement. That's so sweet. I didn't prep my voice as much as I built a studio, and I would sketch ideas, and I have a really amazing outboard equipment and expensive microphones like an M49 and stuff. Kind of a gearhead, you know. And so I would write and sketch some ideas, and as I was sketching maybe what might be the verse, maybe my voice wasn't warmed up for the chorus, but I would warm up with the verse and sing the verse a few times. That's how I'd prep myself. And usually the first stroke of the brush on a piece of canvas is kind of the best. And sometimes I'll say something in a way, can I never say it again, or sing it that way again. So I keep those. Then I go back and try to get the choruses after I warm up, you know.
Well, here's another question for you. My question was, were most of the songs a melody without words first, or did you have a lyric that you then developed into a melody? My heart is full with Traces.
Oh my God, wish I knew who that was. That's so great. The writing process would not impress you, okay? Sometimes it just mumbles, you know? I mean, baby, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing right now. you know. But you make things up and then keep them and go back. So it's kind of the process, and I might say something that I might keep, and I might say something I'm gonna have to change later. But it's just a question of opening up and letting something come out like that. I don't know what that was.
James Taylor told us once here at iHeartRadio, and he was talking about before the days of cell phones.
Yeah.
He said he walked around with change in his pocket because he'd be walking down the street. He'd have to call his phone answering machine on a payphone and sing into it.
Well,
so he could remember because things would be going through his head.
I had a cassette back in the day. Remember cassettes?
Mm-hmm.
I had a cassette player in my car, and I was driving from Los Angeles up to San Francisco to start running the first time with Jonathan Cain, and I had this idea about the Who's Crying Now, so I just started singing that melody into the cassette, and when I got up there, we finished it.
Okay, in what ways were the recording processes different on this album than previous albums? By the way, you rock.
Well, I built a studio, and I outfitted it with the best equipment, including Pro Tools, and I have all this amazing outboard gear so that, for those of you who know, on the front end stage, I go analog into Pro Tools, and then we capture in digital. But we did something different on this record. We almost decided to go to tape and mixed a 2-track 15 IPS half-inch. And we checked it out, me and Tom Flowers, my engineer, and there was something amazing about the tape compression. We did love it, but there was also something I was missing that I love about digital. So we found a special hybrid version of analog and digital by doing an outboard chain and coming back in that we sort of customly designed for ourselves. So this record has a little bit of both, you know. I think that's what makes it sound contemporary, but also not painful to the ears like digital can be.
So it is an analog-digital hybrid.
It's basically it's a digital analog hybrid. Yes.
All right. Okay, Cosmo writes, I'd love to know a brief history of the thought process of coming up with the Traces cover.
Yeah, Jeff Wack is a friend of mine, and he's an amazing commercial artist. And we got together, and I told him the concept of want to have all these iconic sort of memories, traces of my past on the cover. And I told him some of them. I took pictures, went to my hometown, took pictures, gave them to him. He started to assemble them in a pattern, and it just grew. He's a very creative cat. And between him and I fine-tuning the cover, there's everything from the San Francisco Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and if you look, for instance, in the upper left-hand corner of the bridge, the song In the Rain in Traces, you'll see a storm cloud above the bridge and a funnel cloud coming down, raining on two people that are smooching on the bridge. Because I'd never smooched on the Golden Gate Bridge. I really hadn't done it. I mean, that's something everybody should do, right? For some reason, I never did it. Well, I did it with Kelly. And so the song In the Rain is kind of about that.
Okay, thank you, Steve, for sharing your music with us again. I'm intrigued with the cover artwork. I'd like to know the meaning of the Cabaret Lady.
What?
The Cabaret Lady depicted on the cover.
Oh, the girl. She's just sexy, that's all.
All right. Todd Gilbert.
Well, I think she's got her legs in the air, and she's looking at the camera, and she's got the music behind her playing on vinyl, and my microphone's there kind of on fire next to her, and she looks like she's loving the music, so she's just a sexy girl.
Todd Gilbert writes, the song No More Crying has literally rocked me to my core. When I heard that song, the raw emotion and beautiful melodies all wrapped around a smooth R&B feel really touched a chord with me. As a lifelong fan of soul music, it really touched me.
Wow, I don't know what to say. That's so all-encompassing, because I would love nothing more than to hear that about that song, because that's what we reached for. We really did try
Well, if you were reaching for it, Todd Gilbert
looks
says
like
you
he
got
it.
there.
I mean, seriously.
Looks like you got there.
We really worked hard to try to get that kind of heartfelt believability. And, you know, Tom and I talked, my engineer, co-producer, many, many times about what kind of record to make, you know. Because today we can make everything from electronic to, we could do a hybrid, sort of like Imagine Dragons, which is rock but electronic, or Mew, you know. We could do all this stuff. So it was a difficult decision what kind of record to make as far as production. So I brought real musicians in with real expression from them because I felt that emotionally that's what we should be reaching for at every level, like pancakes, to where it stacks up and then you have the singer on top emoting his emotion on top of all that. It's kind of an old school way of making music emotionally, but with contemporary sonics, if that makes sense out there. Does it make sense? Oh, good. I thought I lost you for a second.
Helen Loring writes, I love No Erasing. It reminds me that we can't erase the past, but we can stay strong, and there is hope for the future.
Yeah, well, No Erasing originally was about a class reunion of two people meeting for the first time in a long time, and they both had their lives in different cities, but they're by themselves at their class reunion, if you know what I mean. So they're sitting together, they go outside to talk about what they used to be when they were in high school together. And they get into her car and they drive to a special spot. Because in my town, there was a special spot, everybody parked to smooch.
In everybody's town, there was a special spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you all have a special spot where you smooch, okay? You know what I'm talking about. And so that's what they do. And they jump in the back seat of her car and they smooch a little bit and continue to talk about the emotions that they once had, that there's really no way to erase those emotions. You have to kind of just own them and make peace with them and make them part of your life and bring them into whatever you're into now. I think that's kind of what the song's about. And it's also a reunion. Well, if I ever do shows, if I ever tour again, I'm not sure. We've talked about that a little bit. But in the back seat of your car, I know it's been a long time coming since I saw your face, and I'm talking to you right now. The back seat of your car is this for me, and it's your car and I'm in it. So there's a lot of metaphors running at the same time in that song if you listen closely.
A friend of mine, Colleen, had a group of high school and junior high school friends over at her place in Michigan last night, and another friend of mine is going to a high school reunion on Saturday night. Have you ever been to one?
I have, but it's been a long time. I went to I think my 15, and then I stopped. I don't want to pretend I'm that old.
Steve, will you continue to do videos for each of the songs, including the bonus tracks? The album art enhances the lyrical production of the music so much. Is it possible to even compare the process of this album's videos with some of your prior work, like, say, Separate Ways? The orchestration on some of the songs carries us away on wings somehow. Your We Fly is mystical. Do you find some of the songs reach out to you when composing before you begin the process of sharing them with us?
Wow. Well, you mentioned We Fly. We Fly is a song about my hometown of Hanford, California, where I was born and raised, and then I went to high school in Lemoore, California. While I was raised in that small agricultural town, it was an amazing time back then. My grandparents and my mother, after my father left, helped raise me. Like I said, I was an only child, a bit unruly, I think, a problematic child maybe a little bit, But nevertheless, I love that town. And We Fly is about the time when we were all together in that town and what that town meant to me and how that love was our season in that town. It was just something that was happening in the town and in the family at the time.
Scott Francis writes, We're Still Here. So far, my favorite song. Vocals are amazing. The lyrics speak to me in a way that takes me back to my teenage years with my two best friends hanging out in Burlington, Vermont, just watching the people around us. And now, 35 years later, we're still here. Thank you, Steve, for coming back and sharing this new beautiful music with us. You are filling a huge void.
Oh, my goodness. What do you say to that? I just got to say thank you. That's really beautiful. Thank you.
And here's a pretty interesting question. You do a cover of I Need You on Traces. That's the Beatles song, George Harrison's composition, which is awesome. Have you ever thought of doing a covers album of your favorite songs? Like maybe throw a Sam Cooke tune in there.
Yeah, well, it's tough to get close to Sam Cooke. I don't know if I should touch that because he was the greatest, No, nobody can really redo Sam Cooke. But I heard the song I Need You on the Help album when I was a kid. And though it was a great version, and I love the Beatles, they did a bossa nova feel, like tick, 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 tick,
You
tick.
don't realize how much I need
Nice
you.
voice there, Jim. That's pretty nice. That's very nice. That's right. That's
Well,
how,
that was the tempo, but that
was
the
the
tempo.
tempo. That was it.
That was the tempo of it.
And that's very nice, though. But I heard it differently. I heard the song as an R&B song, just a straight up R&B tune. And it starts out vocally, and then the keys come in, and the drums come in. Vinnie Colaiuta played the most amazing pocket on that. So it turned out the way I always heard it. And if there was going to be a cover, it was going to be that one. And I have to tell you one more little part of the story, if I may. I was not going to put that on the record unless I could get the blessing from Olivia Harrison, because she is, a wonderful woman, and she's in charge of George's legacy and his estate and everything. So Steve Ferroni, who also played on the record, is a friend of mine, was going somewhere to meet her and Danny, and I said, Olivia Harrison? He said, yeah. I said, well, can you tell her I covered I Need You, and I'd love to play it for her? He says, sure. So next thing I know, the next day she emails me back, and I was so thrilled, And we got together, and I played her the version. So here I am. I'm handing her a CD. She puts a CD in. She listens to it, and I'm going, oh boy, does she like it? What's going on? And she restarts the CD and listens to it a second time. And I went, is there something about it maybe I could have done better? I don't know, And halfway through the second listen, she turns the volume and says, George would have just loved this.
Oh.
And I just went, there was the blessing,
That is great. That is great.
So it's on the record thanks to Olivia.
And we have one final question from
Why is my nose still this big?
Teresa Mefford Horsley asks, do you feel that you have come full circle now in comparison with all of your works? How do you feel about them then? How do you feel about them now?
Them and now.
Then and now.
Wow.
The continuum.
I'm kind of embracing it all,
Your
really.
body of work.
Yeah.
From yesterday to today.
Oh no, I am embracing it. Oh, I really am. I'm listening on the radio now, and when I hear Who's Crying Now, I love it. When I hear Don't Stop Believing, I'm overwhelmed that a whole new generation have embraced that song in a way I could have never, ever imagined possible. There was no way of knowing that, because all the songs we recorded got the same love and the same attention to detail. But that one has been given a blessing by you all in a way that none of us could have calculated. I love my solo work. I'm loving the new record. The new record, for me, is the result of rediscovering that passion that I had lost when I left the group. That's why I left. And the passion for music has come back, and I've got so much material now flowing out of me. It's kind of crazy now, and I'm excited about it. It keeps me up at night sometimes, because it's just the mind won't shut off, like last night. I write music in my sleep and wake up, But other than that, I'm loving it. And I think my passion for music in general is off the hook right now. All kinds of music, new music too.
Well, today's the day. The release date for Traces, it's Steve Perry. You have embraced your work. You must know that millions of people around the world embrace you. Thank you so much.
Jim. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Jim Kerr with Steve Perry from iHeartRadio in New York.